Tēnā tēnā, welcome whānau to the War on News. Your weekly sacred castle on Soul and current affairs beam live from the Palatial Stratus News Bunker, buried deep beneath the heart of the Greyland Republic. If this show was an All Black supporter, it would be abstaining from Adidas, not sex. In tonight's political media crimes against reason kill zone, John Key cripples youth welfare so young people are too weak from hunger to riot. Crusher Collins fails to flatten. Come on, ACT. Take a day off being an uptight old fart party for dried up racists and do the right thing for once. Plus this week's Sex in the Super City and the Wanko of the Week award. Leading the War on News this week, brothers and sisters, Auckland has been engulfed in a blizzard. The way we've been rocked by a 2.4 Richter scale earthquake. The perception that Aucklanders are as soft as a fat piggy's tummy weren't helped this week as Aucklanders demanded recognition of their Snowmageddon, with over 10,000 signing the I Survived the Auckland Blizzard of 2011 Facebook page. Aucklanders rushed onto the street to argue the merits of hail, sleet and something called grapple, which is a Māori word meaning it's not snow harden up you Auckland wimps. Not only is our snow not fluffy and our earthquakes not shaky, Auckland lost against Tasman. Brothers and sisters, I don't know the first thing about rugby. I don't know who captains the Auckland team. I don't know any of the players. Hell, I'm not even sure where the game was played. But what I do know is we are better than bloody Tasman. What has happened to Auckland City? We've lost our mojo. And it's all because we don't have an electrified rail loop yet. Brothers and sisters, isn't controlling the fertility of the poor, controlling the bond between mother and child and deciding what they choose to buy more direct interference into people's lives than water-saving shower heads and power-saving light bulbs ever were? Why is it only nanny state when Labour does it? When will John Key tell pensioners what they can spend their money on? When will John Key tell students with student-free loans what they can spend their money on? When will John Key tell the middle classes who get working for families what they can do with their money? He won't, of course, because they are all deserving of state money, the way he was. Dirty, filthy bennies on the benefit, however, are undeserving. And that's how we decide social policy in this country, based on the knee-jerk reactions of redneck talkback hosts. Brothers and sisters, unbreaking news! New Zealand Herald's official political jawbone, John Armstrong, has announced that he has become the National Party's campaign manager for 2011. This is the only conclusion one can draw from the slobbering columns he wrote this week, pouring praise on the National Party book burning that passes as their conference. Seeing as the New Zealand Herald allows chief propagandist and state-sanctioned liar David Farrar an unchallenged column to camouflage Tea Party fanaticism, muse about Mana, even though everything he has ever said about Mana to date has been wrong, and his latest National Party ass-kiss by promoting a return to youth rights, it's been hard for John Armstrong to be able to nuzzle as close to John Key's teat as David Farrar is. However, by simply becoming the campaign manager, John is able to step out of David's shadow and bask in the blue light he so desperately wants. If a riot does ever break out on Queen Street, can I remind everyone the New Zealand Herald offices are just up a side street? To the headlines, whānau. John Key cripples youth welfare so young people are too weak from hunger to riot. Let me get this straight. Your big plan, National, is dog-whistling, Benny-bashing bullshit to stop 16 and 17-year-old beneficiaries using their benefit to buy tobacco and alcohol? 16 and 17-year-olds can't buy tobacco and alcohol. This is supposed to diffuse the possibility of riots. This is supposed to deal with 20% youth unemployment. This is supposed to create jobs. This Benny-bashing crap won't do any of that. All it does is punish those who don't have work in a 6.5% unemployment environment. Benny-bashing youth on welfare is as politically easy as screaming tax cuts for all, but it's a smokescreen. This is about privatisation of social welfare via private companies rather than solutions. The bonus should go to employers courageous enough to offer jobs. It shouldn't go to a private company the government subcontracts its social obligations out to. The fact still remains. A mother should be with her 1-year-old. That 1-year-old shouldn't be brought up by the state. What is the point of making those mothers' lives unbearable? What weird, counterproductive, right-wing talk-hate radio knee-jerk are we allowing to happen here? National's tactic of proposing 100% crazy and selling 80% crazy as compromise is like getting the National Front to write immigration policy and then look aghast at what they come up with while implementing most of it. It is this government's economic turbocharged incompetence that has led to the crippling of the welfare state, aided by John Key's out-of-touch bubble world millionaire lifestyle, which concludes for him that poor people needing food parcels choose to be poor, and that if he cuts benefits, bugger all beneficiaries would starve. By subsidising a tax cut for the rich by increasing GST, the revenue from tax revenue fell by $1 billion. $1 billion that English said would be made up from social welfare, which is what we are seeing now. All stick and no play makes Little Wuramu a prison statistic, and that is all we are doing here. If you want to lift the poor out of poverty in the most real way, spend $20 million on feeding the 3 lowest decile schools in New Zealand. No matter what Benny-bashing bullshit Key and his optimistic little bubble world may think, the reality is you can't teach hungry children. This plan does nothing to lift those 210,000 New Zealand children out of poverty, and that is the great disappointment of this government. Adopting free market social policy to combat the effects of free market economic meltdown is like using petrol to put out a fire. John Key's welfare reforms are to equality what Adidas is to brand management. Moving on with the headlines, whānau. Well. So Little Miss Tough on Crime hasn't actually crushed any cars then, has she? Crusher Collins couldn't get TV cameras down to the car crushing yard fast enough, could she, folks, when she came to office with all her tough on crime bullshit. And it turns out that all these new draconian laws were just another redneck knee-jerk. Crusher claims the car racing offences dropped in the wake of the law. But petrol prices also skyrocketed at the same time as youth unemployment went through the roof. So it wasn't a car-crushing law that stopped boy races, it was the global economic crash. You would think after Bill English described the current tough-on-crime throw-em-in-prison crap as a fiscal and moral failure. I'll say that again for some of the sleepy hobbits out there. Our tough-on-crime prison system is a fiscal and moral failure. That Crusher would acknowledge this, but she doesn't. Crushing cars is just like the National Party's weird obsession with military boot camps that don't work. You voted for these clowns, I'm not responsible for them. Moving on to the headlines, whānau. Brothers and sisters, ACT won't admit it, but they've bled any credibility they once ever had by misreading their own corners of bigotry as mainstream opinion with their bribe a tribe racist adverts. But here is an opportunity for ACT to gain back some honour. I'm not talking about removing Hillary Calvert's eyes from the poster above the brothel she owns, although that would certainly make ACT less creepy. I'm talking about withholding ACT's votes from the mammoth changes and wide-ranging erosion of civil liberties National want to ram through Parliament, which would forever change the power balance between the individual and the state. Come on, ACT! You know that the state cannot be trusted with the types of legal power you would be handing them. Extension to absentee trials, no jury trials for crimes punishable by 3 years, plus an extension list of crimes that can be heard by just a judge. Perhaps one of those judges who were described in the 2009 report as being idiosyncratic, arrogant, inflexible, and not up to the job intellectually. You know these powers combined with denying the right to silence will radically alter the power dynamic between the individual and the state. How on earth can you freedom-loving libertarians empower the state in this manner? ACT voting this legal abomination through would be like the National Party raising the minimum wage and expanding maternity care for union members. Live up to your logo act. Don't give the state this power. Speedy, cost-saving justice isn't justice. It just gets things done wrong faster. Whānau, are you feeling sexy? It's Sex and the City time. Thank little baby Jesus that the SPCA gave the idiot Rugby World Cup organisers an excuse to cancel the idiot idea to run 1,000 sheep up Queen Street. We are selling the little big city to the world. And how did the Rugby World Cup want to present us? A Hicksville overrun by sheep? Forget the culture, forget the city of sails, forget the largest Polynesian city in the world. The clowns at the Rugby World Cup wanted to make us, as Brian Rudman so deliciously describes it, a Tikawiti on steroids where the Gucci shop got mobbed by a flock of live Ugg boots. Whānau, let's wrap this week's show with this week's Wanko of the Week award. This week's Wanko of the Week, brothers and sisters, has to go to allowing rich people to privatise our public services. I'm sick to the back teeth of hearing the John Key grew up in a state house, he knows about welfare meme. He got 1960s gold-plated welfare. 2011 welfare is shit-encrusted. Key's perception of state aid is as far removed from McGee and Close as his Hawaiian mansion is. Key has privatised prisons, privatised welfare, and wants to privatise our assets as well. This isn't nanny state, it's the non-existing state. What the bloody hell is Key actually doing as a government if he keeps subcontracting the government's social obligations out to everyone else? Why are we still paying you then, chump, if you ain't actually doing any of the work? This isn't government with a small g, it's government with a microscopic G. That's it for tonight, folks. Don't forget Citizen A plays Friday, 8 p.m, Freeview 21 and Sky 89. Follow me on my Citizen Bomber Twitter and Facebook site. It has all the shows posted up online and allows you to befriend other like-minded citizens for romantic news moments. Good night, New Zealand. You stay classy, Aotearoa. Righto.